Good afternoon, my dear students at home. I hope you are safe. I'm a biology teacher, Adil Mahmoud Abiodun. I'm here to present a topic, adaptation for survival. Lesson objective. At the end of this lesson, the student should be able to 1. Define adaptation. 2. Explain competition. 3. State the types of competition. 4. Highlight the differences between competition and secession. 5. They should be able to state the types of adaptation. 6. They should be able to explain the structural adaptation for feeding in birds. Now, the adaptation for survival of an organism. What is an adaptation? If you can recall back in your SS1, we explain the various characteristics of living organisms, where we mention that the characteristics of living organism is called Mr. Niger call. The C stand for competition, A stand for adaptation, L stand for limitation and limited size, as well as lifespan. It shows that adaptation is one of the characteristics of living organism. For any living organism to live, it must be able to adapt to its environment, whether aquatic environment, terrestrial environment, or arboreal habitat. If the organism fails to adapt to its environment, it's likely going into extinction. Now, what is the meaning of that adaptation? Adaptation can be simply defined as modification of structure, function, or behavior that enable organism to survive in a particular environment. You can also put it as this, that adaptation can be simply defined as the possession of the characteristics, traits, behavior, structure, features that evolved over a long period of time that enable organisms to survive and reproduce in response to changes in the environment or habitat. Let me highlight the key words under this definition. When we say adaptation, we have, it can be, that is possession of characteristics, traits, behavior, structure, and feature. We have different behavior in different conditions. If the environment is cold, the way we behave is different from when the environment is hot. Also, all part of living organism, look at yourself. For example, your eye is a structure, your ear is a structure, eyes is a structure, the hair on your body, the hairs, and so on and so forth. All these are structure. They are designated, they are modified to perform one function or the other, such as your eye to sight your food, to sight to see your predators, and also such as your forelimbs and hind to move away from danger. These are the structure that is found within your body. The modification of this structure, over a long period of time in response to changes in the environment or in our or habitat, is known as what? Adaptation. Now, the second thing we have on this slide is competition. When we say competition, you are aware of inter-sport competition, inter-school competition, and so on and so forth. But biologically, competition can be defined as the struggle for survival or existence among organisms in a given habitat. It can also be defined as a biological interaction between members of the same species. It can be between Homo sapiens, that is man, human being, or it can be between the different species, that is two or more different species or population, to obtain a mutually resources that are in short supply, the resources in the environment that are not available in the desired quantity. The struggle for this, the struggle in order to get these resources between two organisms of the same species or different species is known as competition. Competition can occur due to in our we can compete for food, we can compete for mate, light in plant, light in animal, shelter and living space. Biologically, before any organism can live, it must be able to compete and adapt to its environment. In our class, we compete among ourselves. We have the best student in this, the best student in that. Also, at home, we compete for food, we compete for water, we compete for space when we want to sleep. These are the what? These are the examples of what? Competition in our various habitats. Biologically, it is the what? Struggle for existence, struggle for survival among organisms in a given environment. It can be between same species or two different species. Also, if you look at your garden, you have a maize plant and a pepper plant. Both of them have um, something in common. They are looking for water, they are looking for food, they are looking for nutrients in the soil. They use their roots to compete, to look for this. As a result of this, you can see that there is what? Competition between maize plant and pepper plant. They are both looking for light, they needed water, they both require space and so on and so forth. This is what is called competition. The next one is causes of competition. Competition can be caused by the following imp by the following points. Competition in plants are caused by this. One, inadequate space. Because there is no enough space, the organisms are struggling to acquire more space to themselves. You see a taproot plant and a plant that is shallow rooted. They are both looking for the nutrients within the soil. The one with taproot system will be able to acquire water, will be able to acquire more nutrients than the one with shallow root. Also, we have inadequate light because the in the forest, for example, you have a climbers, you have big trees, you have shrub, you have herbs. All these plants require water, they require light for their survival. As a result of this, because there is no enough light at the floor of the forest, the plant will start to look for light by all means, by climbing on another plant, by trying to use its leaf to cover the rest. That is because of what? Inadequate light in the part of forest, the struggle for the what? The little one or the one available. Inadequate nutrient in the soil is another thing the plant competes for. Inadequate, insufficient water. It might be during dry season now, there is no enough water in the soil. The plants compete by making use of their roots. Inadequate soil too is another feature, is another example, or is another causes of competition among plants. The way plants compete, it also occur in animal. We have various resources that animal compete for. One of it is food, because because of the limited food, because of the small size of the food, the animal struggle to to get more than each other. As a result of this competition setting, the second thing is inadequate mates. If you look around, you notice that we have more numbers of female than male. It in man or in human population than the number of what? Male. And when it gets to a certain age, they will need to get married. They will be struggling. Oh, I want to marry this one. This one, I want to. They struggle. They try to impress so that this one will say, oh, this is the one I want. This is not the one. They struggle. They compete for what? Mate. They compete for food, and also they compete for space within the hostel at home. Someone will say, oh, I would like to sleep under fan, I would like to sleep beside window, and so on and so forth. They will now be struggling to get this what? Space. That is what? Competition. Because if there is enough um, ventilation, no two individual will be struggling for this. But because they are in short supply, they are what? Struggling to get this space. Inadequate food, inadequate mate, inadequate living space. How also the last one is suitable temperature or warmth. Everybody is looking for a good everybody is looking for suitable temperature, the temperature that will not have any adverse effect on his behavior or on his reaction in his environment. Some they will be looking for a shade when it is hot. When it is cold, they will be looking for what? Warm part, and so on and so forth. As a result of this, the animal will start competing, will start struggling among themselves to get these resources. The next one is types of competition. There are two types of competition. Basically, we have intra-specific competition, and we also have inter-specific competition. But before I will explain this, I would like to take you to next slide. You can see this picture. Herd beasts, they are struggling to defend their territory, and you can see that they are of the same what? Species. And when organisms are competing for the same resources, when competition is between two organisms of the same species in a particular area, this type of competition is regarded as inter-specific competition. That is, the type of competition struggling for the same resources, struggling for space, light, water, food, and so on by the same what? Species of organism. That is what? Interspecific competition. The next slide show a bird and one animal at the middle. You see the bird is holding food. The animal is holding food, while the bird are also struggling to get this food from what? From the animal. This animal is a different species, and this bird is also what? A different species entirely. That is, the competition is between two organisms of different species, between bird and what? Animals, between bird and the rabbit. That is the type of now let me now go back to the meaning of interspecific competition and intraspecific competition and interspecific competition. Interspecific competition, also known as interspecies competition, it is a competition between members of the same species or of the same kind or of the same population. For example, if you have rabbit in a particular cage in your laboratory and you are feeding them every day, this rabbit will be struggling to acquire or to get more food than each other. The type of competition between these rabbits for space and food, water, and so on and so forth is known as what? Intraspecific competition. The type of competition is a competition type existing between members of the same species. Now, another examples of intraspecific competition is flock of domestic fowl in a deep litter. If you have a cage or you have a room where you have your livestock and you put them on deep litters, you give them food, to give them water, so that they will just cluster together, struggling to get the food. This type of competition is known as intraspecific competition because they are struggling among themselves. They are struggling to get the food, water, space, and so on and so forth. Also, another examples of intraspecific competition is a maize seedling in a farm area. On a ridge, you can put like 3 maize grain, 3, 2, 4. When this maize seedling germinate out properly, both there will be what? Competition among these maize seedling plants. They will be struggling for water, they will be struggling for nutrients, they will be struggling for light, and so on and so forth. This type of competition between maize seedling on a particular in a small farm area is regarded as what? Intraspecific competition. The next one is interspecific. Please take note, the first one, intra, that is the competition between members of the same species. The second one is interspecific. Let me use this as an example. We have inter-house sports in your school. We have different houses. We have Glory House, Honor House, Unity House, Peace House, and so on and so forth, up to 8. You compete among yourself, as in the competition between different houses will be called what? Inter-house competition. Interspecific competition now is a type of competition that is also known as interspecies competition. Is a competition type among individuals of different species. It's a type of competition among individuals of different species. For example, a maize seedling and maize seedling growing with pepper in a small garden together. Maize seedling and pepper growing together in a small garden together. Both of them will be struggling for space, water, and so on and so forth. Mango and orange plants in a particular small garden. Also, maize and cowpea beans plants struggling to get food, space, and water. You can see that maize is another species, cowpea is what? Another species of plant. Now, the competition between them will be called interspecific competition. A herd of cattle and herd of antelope on a grazing farmland. That is what? Interspecific, because it's between two organisms of different species. Another one is Paramecium caudatum and Paramecium aurela. Paramecium caudatum is one species, and Paramecium aurela is another species. If you put them together in a tank in a laboratory, you will notice that one will be trying to outgrow the other because of the what? The competition taking place between them. This type of competition between organisms of different species among individuals of different species is known as what? Interspecific competition, and it can also be called interspecies competition. The next slide is the slide showing the picture of interspecific. Intraspecific is a competition between organisms of the same species, individual of the same species. This is herds bees struggling to acquire space. Also, the bird and rabbit struggling for food in the environment. Now, relationship between competition and succession. Is there any relationship between competition and succession? I want to draw your attention back to your SS2, where you are taught ecology of population. Ecology of population, that is succession. We define and we explain the meaning of succession. We have two types of succession: primary succession and secondary succession. And succession normally occur in a newly established environment, but competition play a key role in succession. It is this competition that give room for succession to take place. Succession is the inversion and gradual replacement of existing plant and animal species in a habitat until a stable community is established. On a bare rock surface, you see a lichen, that is algae and fungi, colonizing and they are called what? Pioneers. These, well, after a long while, they will die and rotting and serve as a nutrient for the next plant, which can be any herb. The herb will also grow over time and die. For shrub, the shrub, herb, we have herb, shrub, and form what? An established what? Plant, until a climax community is what? Established. Until a stable community is what? Established. That is what? Succession. Organisms involved in succession need to colonize the habitat. As a result of this, it is therefore necessary for competition to take place. One organism will be struggling with the other, and when the dominant one will eliminate the less adaptive one. As a result of this, it will be the what? The organism occupying that farmland for that period. After a while, it will also reach its what? The end of its lifespan. It will die, get rotten, and serve as nutrient to the next plant. When the next plant come out, competition will also take place among this set of organisms until a stable community is established. Competition therefore bring about successional changes, as it allow a new entrant to habitat to displace the existing species over a period of time. Therefore, competition promotes succession, since there is no succession without competition. Thus, competition play an important role for the survival of an organism. Differences between competition and succession. Competition first, succession next. Okay. Now, competition occur in all places, whether in an aquatic environment, terrestrial, arboreal, habitat, and so on and so forth. You see that plants compete, animals compete, both whether on land or in water. Competition occur in all places inhabited by organisms, but succession occur in a particular area, a bare rock surface, okay, and so on and so forth. The second point is, it started when competition occur when resources are in short supply, when there is no enough nutrient, when there is no enough water. The organism in that particular environment will be struggling with each other in order to get the one that will become dominant and acquire more resources to itself. But succession starts with a new habitat. Don't forget, competition occur in all places, while succession occur in only in a particular area. Two, it occur when resources are in short supply. It occur with new habitat. The third one, competition speed up succession, while succession provide basis for competition. There is no end in competition. The organism will continue to struggle to get resources. That is, competition has no end, but succession ends when a climax or stable community has been established. The next one is, old population is gradually being replaced by new one. The dominant species will later die, and when it die, it's decomposed and give rise to a new one. That is for competition. But in succession, old population is gradually being replaced with new dominant population, the one that are stronger and more, the one that can withstand the harsh environmental condition will be what in store. The last one is competition. There is replacement of one population by one another in a given environment due to survival of the fittest. The fitted one will displace the what? Will weed out the weak one. While in succession, the replacement of one population by another in a particular area is transitory. It is stage by stage. Okay, turn by turn. The turn for lichen to shrub to herb to what? The main plant. The next slide is types of adaptation. Don't forget, at the beginning of this lesson, I defined adaptation as a structure that enable organism to live and reproduce successfully in its environment. We have three types of adaptation. Namely, we have structural adaptation, that is modification of the structural part of a living organism. It occurs, we have structure that are being modified in the body of plant, such as the limbs, such as the eyes, such as the hair and ears. Also, the second type is adaptive coloration, how various color of the organism adapt them to their environment so that they can remain undetected from being seen by their predator. The third one is behavioral adaptation. What are the things that the organism do so that they can conceal their identity from their predator? Now, I'm going to start with structural adaptation. Structural adaptation can be defined as the special modification of structure that help organisms to survive better in their various environments. That is, the structure that enable us to live successfully in our what? Habitat. The structural adaptation by various organisms include the structure used to obtain food, to protect and defend ourselves, to secure mate, like in lizard, they display their body color, to protect and defend. You see the cactus plant, they use the spine to guide and protect themselves from their predator. Also, we have structure used to regulate their body temperature, like air and so on their body is also being used to regulate our body temperature in hot weather as well as in cold weather. And also the structure being used to conserve water within our body. Desert animal hardly urinate, they drink water once in a while and they conserve it so that they can live over long period of time without water. Also, desert plants, they have roots that enable them to live successfully in their environment. The next slide is structural adaptation for feeding in bed. Out of the structural adaptation, we have to obtain food, to protect and defend, to conserve water, to defend, to regulate body temperature, and to secure meat. We are going to be looking at structure used to obtain food by different organisms, but I'm making reference to bed for this lesson today. Structural adaptation for feeding in bed. We have about 27 orders of living bed, but we are going to be looking at this this particular example: eagle, hawks, domestic fowl, kite, kingfisher, and so on and so forth. The mouth of bed are modified into beak or bill. Beak can be used to feed their young one, to make nests, and also to feed their young ones, to make nests, and to clean their habitats. The beak have been modified structurally. Structurally, the beak have been modified in various ways. One, we want to look at the adaptive features and modification of beak. Let me take you to this slides, modification of beak. If you look at these slides carefully, we have about 6 beak structure of different birds. You see this one with pointed but not as long as the second one. You see this one is for duck, this one is for ant eater, the second one, the fowl own, okay, the domestic fowl, and also the parrot, hawk, or eagle, and the last one. Now, we have beak that are modified in different ways. One, we have beak that are curved, hooked, and what is the function of this beak? Modification of beak. One, possession of curved hook beak for killing their prey and tearing flesh, like this number 5. This is the beak of eagles. You see that the beak is curved, is hooked, and the essence of that curve hooked beak is for killing their prey, so that they can also use it to tear the flesh of their predator. Presence of curved hooked beak for killing their prey and tearing their flesh. Number two, possession of short, blunt, thick, pointed beak for pecking or for picking grains and seed, such as sparrow and domestic fowl. Look at the picture accordingly. The third and fourth one, the fourth one in particular, is short, it is blunt, and it is thick. It is used for picking up grains and seed and in their what environment. The next one is possession of long, slender, pointed beak for picking insect from cracks and hole in the back of tree. That is number two. That is number six. The beak is pointed, it is slender, and it is used for picking insects from cracks and holes in the back of trees. Example of that is example of bird with such beak is known as woodpecker. Another example, another modification of beak is possession of beak with serrated edges for sieving out food from water in the okay. Example is water duck. The beak is flat, serrated, so that it can be used to sieve out food from water. Number five, possession of strong, short hook beak for cracking hard seed. That is for number four. You see it? They have short, strong, hooked beak used for cracking seed. The parrot is with short, strong hook beak for cracking seed. Another modification of beak is possession of long pointed beak for picking up fish from water, e.g. kingfisher. The number two, the beak is long, pointed, and it is used for picking up fish from water. It is found in bird like kingfisher. The last one is possession of long, hollow beak with tubular tongue. This one is not among the one example I put on this slide. That is sunbird. The beak is long with hollow beak. Sorry, with hollow tube. It is used for sucking nectars, the sugary part of the flower. Okay, that is modification of beak. Let me make a recap on this. The beak are modified, the mouth of bird are modified into beak or what? Bill. And the beak can be used for cleaning the nest, for making nests, and also for feeding the young ones. The beak of various bird, the beak of bird are modified in various ways. One, possession of curved, hooked beak for killing prey. This is found in hawk, eagles, as well as any carnivore. It is found majorly in carnivorous bird, the one that feed on what? Flesh. The second one is possession of short, blunt, thick beak. This is particular to domestic fowl. They use it in pecking grains and seed. Possession of long, slender, pointed beak. This is used for picking insect from the cracks and hole in the back of what? Trees, and so on and so forth. Now let's go to the modification of bird feet for feeding. Structurally, the feet of bird are modified in various ways. The feet of bird are used for perching, but it is modified in order to feed, in order to obtain food in their environment in different way. Number one, possession. Bird have feet. Possession of feet with long, sharp, curved claws for catching, holding on prey. It is found in carnivorous bird like eagles. Look at this. 1, 2, 3. The third one here. This is what is called. This is the beak of eagle. It is long, curved, with sharp claws. It is used for tearing the flesh of their what? Predators. Let me go back. 2, possession of feet with strong digits possession of feet with strong digits with blunt claws. It is used for scratching the soil in order to pick worms, grain, and seed. That is second one here. This is the feet of domestic fowl. It is used for, it has blunt claws, and it is with strong digits. It is used for scratching the soil in order to pick grains, worms, and seed. The third one is possession of webbed feet with webbed digits for swimming or for paddling, for easy movement in the water or mud. This is found in a water duck. That is the first feet here. You see the flat skin in between the digits is known as what? Webbed skin or webbed digits. This enables them to move freely in water when they are looking for food. Don't forget that the duck has a serrated beak, which is used also for sieving. But in order to move easily, in order to move through with ease in water, they have what? Webbed feet. This is modification of feet for what? Feeding. The next one is possession of feet with curved or slender toe for soft landing on the flower. This is found in sunbird. The last one here, this is the feet of sunbird. It is used for soft landing on the flower so that they can easily use their beak to obtain their food. Now, another animal we are going to be looking at is insect. Modification of insect mouth parts. The insect mouth are modified according to the types of food they eat. We have two types of mouth parts basically in insects. These are biting and chewing, and piercing and sucking mouth parts. The mouth part of insect has 5 parts. It has labrum, labium, maxillae, mandible, and hypopharynx. That is the tongue-like structure. Now, the insect mouth parts are modified in various ways. That is adaptation and modification of insect mouth parts. 1. Possession of a large pair of strong mandible for chewing plant material. This example is found in cockroach. They have a strong mandible for chewing and for grinding the plant material. Let me show you the picture. A, you see the mandible below the antenna. It is serrated. It is hooked, tooth-like in structure. It is used for grinding the plant material. That is possession of a pair of strong mandible for chewing plant material, as found in cockroach, grasshopper, and what? Termite. The second one is possession of slender, sharp mandible and maxillae mouth parts. This is used for piercing the host tissue. Let's go back to this. You see this? It has a sharp mouth, a sharp, slender mandible and maxillae. It is used for piercing and sucking the host tissue. The third one is possession of a long coil proboscis mouthpart used for sucking blood of their host. This is found in butterfly, mosquito. The coil part is proboscis and it is used for sucking the mouth parts. Don't forget, the mouth part of insect has 5 parts, but they are modified in 2 ways based on the type of food they eat. We have biting and chewing and piercing and sucking. The ones that feed on majorly on plant material, they have biting and chewing. The ones that feed on fluid material have mostly they have what? Piercing and sucking mouth parts. This is found in butterfly. It is found in housefly. It is found in mosquito. Biting and chewing are found in cockroach, grasshopper, and termite. Another way by which insect we have treated the insect modification of insect mouth parts. That's all. Now let's go to the insectivorous plant. We have some plants that feed on insects because they live in a particular area where there is nitrogen element deficiency. They cannot produce or synthesize protein needed for repair of their worn out tissue and formation of new tissue. As a result of this, they now develop structure that enable them to trap any nearby insect, and they have digestive enzymes they can use to digest this insect and obtain the protein protein from this insect. Number one, insectivorous plants possess sensitive hairs for trapping and digesting trapped insects. Two, secretion of sticky shining liquid which they use in attracting their predators, such as sundew, Drosera. They have the secret sticky shining liquid that they use in attracting their predator. Also, Phoenix flytrap, they have a colorful leaves with spine that with air. When the insect land on the air, they it closes, and digestive enzyme is poured on this insect. The next slide is modification of insect mouthpart. I've explained these various mouthpart of insect. The next one is toad. Adaptation and modification of toad for feeding. Toad are modified. The toad mouthpart are modified in different ways in order to obtain food in their environment. The toad they possess special olfactory lobe for perceiving the odor of food around them. That is, possession of special olfactory lobe for perceiving or to perceive the odor of their food within their environment. The second one is toad has long sticky tongue. Their tongue is long and sticky. They can sit on the branch of tree, extend it, use it to catch any flying insect, and withdraw it inside their mouth. The third one is possession of tongue that is attached to the front of the mouth, and it can be rapidly extended throughout and withdraw back into their mouth. The last one is possession of bulgy eyes, which are often pulled further into the head and press down on the prey to prevent it from escaping. These are the various ways by which toad are modified, by which toad are modified their parts in obtaining their food from the environment. Assignments. But before that, let me go back to the beginning of the class, at the beginning of the lesson again. We are looking at adaptation for survival. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain adaptation, competition, types of competition, differences between competition and secession, and also structural adaptation for feeding in birds, toad, insect, and various animals. Now, I define adaptation as modification of structure, function, or behavior which make organism to live successfully in a particular environment. We have some features, we have some traits that evolve over a long period of time, which enable us to live and reproduce within our environment. One of the features is pentadactyl structure, the limbs, okay, which enable us to hold our food firmly, to put it in the mouth, and so on and so forth. The second one is competition. The second step, we talk about competition. A competition is a struggle for existence, struggle for survival among organisms in a given area. Anywhere you find yourself, you compete, you look for food, you look for meat. In order that inability to compete successfully lead to the death of that animal or plant. Competition can be simply defined as what biological interaction between members of the same species or two different species in a particular environment, competing for mutually resources that are in short supply in their environment. What are the causes of competition? Competition are caused by inadequate space, inadequate food, inadequate nutrients, insufficient water, mate, suitable temperature, or want. We also talk about types of competition. We have two types of competition: intraspecific competition and interspecific competition. Intraspecific is also called interspecies competition. It is a competition between members of the same species, of the same population, e.g., flock of domestic fowl in a deep litter, population of rabbits in the laboratory, herd beasts struggling to defend their territory, as you have it in this slide. We also talk about interspecific competition. This is the type of competition among individuals of different species. You have this, you see this rabbit and bird. They are struggling for food. The bird gather around the rabbit, struggling to take the food from the rabbit using their beak. This is the type of competition between two different species in a particular area. That is interspecific. Look at it. Inter-house sports, we have different houses, but within the same house, intra or intraspecific. The next one is, we also look at the relationship between competition and succession. I told you that there is no succession without what? Competition, because competition play a key role in succession. Succession has to do with gradual changes, inversion, or gradual replacement of existing plants, old population in a habitat until a stable community is established, and organisms struggle for the resources. The one that acquire more resources live, while the weak one die out. As a result of this, the new population will also reach the end of its life. When it dies, it decomposes and add the nutrients to the soil and give room for a new organism to evolve or to come out to succeed the old generation. Competition bring about successional changes, so it allows new entrants into the habitat and displace the old one over a period of time. We look at differences between competition and succession. That competition occur in all areas, while succession take place in a newly established environment, such as baroque surface. It occur Competition occur when resources are in short supply, while succession take place or usually start with a new habitat. Competition speed up succession, while succession serve as a basis for competition. Competition has no end. Succession end when a stable community is established. Old population replaced by new one in competition, but old population is gradually being replaced by new dominant population. In succession, no one is dying out. What really happened is that in succession, the old population is being replaced by new dominant population. Also, we talk about types of adaptation. We have three types of adaptation: structural adaptation, adaptive coloration, behavioral adaptation. And structural adaptation has to do with modification of structure, part of organism, that enable them to live successfully in their environment. All parts of organism are modified in various way or the other for their survival. And the structural adaptation to in organism include structure to obtain food, to protect and defend. Like your eyes now, what do you use it for? To what? Defend yourself. When you sight your predator, you quickly take to the heel, you run. Your hand to obtain your food. Another one, secure mate for reproduction. You have the part of your body that you use for reproduction. You have cautious behavior. These are the what? Structural adaptation. To regulate body temperature and to conserve water. And I explained the modification of beak of various animals, where we have uh, hand-eater, parrot, domestic fowl, um, the beak of water duck, and so on and so forth. I think. Do you have any question? Assignment. What is competition? 2. Highlight 2 types of competition. 3. State 5 differences between competition and succession. 4. What is structural adaptation? 5. List 2 structural modification, each of named bird, which feed on A. Nectar, B. Flesh. Thank you and stay safe.